Hello, welcome to day 21 of 40 days of training videos. Today, you're going to be like, she puts what in her coffee? I have, for about the last year, maybe 6 months to a year, been using Brain Octane and grass-fed butter in my coffee. So I just wanted to show you how I do that and why I do that. And so the thing is, I'm just going to make the coffee. And so the thing is, I like lattes a lot. And I've also started what's called intermittent fasting, which just basically means I push back my first meal. I'm not hardcore about it. Some people are really like, oh, I'm only going to eat from this time to this time. I eat about 11 o'clock is my first meal, and I stop about 7. Intermittent fasting for me works with an 8-hour eating window and a 16-hour fasting window, which includes your sleep. So it's really not that difficult. But here's why I do it, and here's why I use the butter and the oil in my coffee, because it helps me maintain focus in the morning, especially. I don't get hungry. It has so drastically decreased my cravings for sugar and everything else that I've really enjoyed this. And it keeps my energy up and it keeps my focus even better. So now that I have my coffee, all I use, now some people use a lot more. I only use a teaspoon of each. So I use a teaspoon of this Brain Octane, which is basically a very distilled coconut oil, but it doesn't have that coconut oil taste. There's really no smell or taste to it at all. The butter, however, I use grass-fed butter only. And again, I use a teaspoon. And so you might think, oh my gosh, that's all fat. But it fuels my brain and it fuels my energy level. So I don't get hungry and I have good energy. So that's why I do it. Now I've blended this a number of ways. I used to blend this in a blender cup, but my blender cups were plastic and the coffee was hot and it discolored them. So I don't do that anymore. Then I started using a shaker with a blender ball in it, which works okay, but it's a lot to clean up. Now I use my immersion blender in here and I just blend up my coffee. Now, the note about this is make sure that you use a very big cup. When I first used a regular size cup, it splattered everywhere. And okay, I should have probably known that, but I didn't. So now I have this latte, which is awesome. Oops, let me get this off so I don't make a mess. Okay, let's see if you can see this. So see, it just looks like a creamy latte. It tastes delicious. And so, you know, I use a teaspoon of each, which as far as calories and fat, it's 9 grams of fat, and it's about, it's less than 100 calories. I think it's about 80 something calories. So, I mean, think about that compared to even a non-fat latte is 100 calories. So, you know, from a caloric and fat standpoint, it really doesn't harm you in any way. In fact, it's just a really good, quick energy source that keeps you from getting hungry. So, and it keeps your cravings at bay. So that's why I do it. So I typically, and I was reminded of this by a friend, an old client, who said, I used to teach, eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper. But I have to probably tag her on this and say, I've really changed that. Right now, my first meal will not be for a while, maybe, you know, at 10 or 11 is typically when I eat my first meal. Very high protein. And then I'm not hungry till probably about 2 or 3. And then that meal is still going to be high in protein. Typically my lunch will be that apple that I showed you, which is my first carbs of the day, and eggs. And sometimes I do avocado with sunflower seeds, and sometimes I do red pepper with hummus. So, and then dinner at a normal time, and it's a normal dinner. So I'm hoping that helps, and I'd love to cover more on intermittent fasting if you want to hear more about it. It really works for me and my husband, and my daughter eats that way naturally. And the bottom line is we eat when we get hungry, and if we just have fat and protein in the morning, we don't get hungry for a long period of time. So, and we still have good energy, and everything is working well. So I just wanted to share that with you. This is my little treat in the morning, is to have, it's called bulletproof coffee, although I use a little less oil and a less butter than most people. And I just figure I do that because I'm a girl and most of the people that do this are guys. But actually, there's a lot of girls too, so I shouldn't say that. Anyway, that's bulletproof coffee, and I will talk to you tomorrow.